This is Coastal Bend History. Sponsored by Oak Creek Homes.
In the shadow of Buccaneer Stadium and the city's oldest high school is Holy Cross Cemetery. And while it predates the stadium and the school, there's still so much history here that started with just a single dollar bill. In 1866, an Irish immigrant named Mrs. Catherine Bray donated 10 acres of land to the Catholic Church so they could establish a cemetery. The land was on what was then the outskirts of Corpus Christi. Mrs. Bray had bought the land 15 years earlier for the mind-boggling sum of $1. The seller was Henry Kinney, the founder of the city of Corpus Christi. The original cemetery was known as Mount Calvary. In 1869, Mrs. Bray sold another 20 acres of land to the church, and the name of the cemetery was changed to Holy Cross Cemetery. Mrs. Bray died in 1883. She's buried alongside her daughter in the Mount Calvary section of Holy Cross, which is the oldest part of the cemetery. In fact, many of Corpus Christi's earliest settlers are also laid to rest at Holy Cross. They came here from Old Mexico and Europe. The names on the headstones may be of those early pioneers, but they are names we see on a daily basis. Names like Dunn, Galahar, McBride, Musset, Carroll, Sanchez, and more. According to records, the earliest birth date listed on a headstone is 1797, and the earliest death date, 1855. A walk through Holy Cross Cemetery is like a walk through the pages of history. There are grave sites for Civil War veterans, victims of Corpus Christi's yellow fever epidemic of 1876, and victims of the 1919 hurricane. Holy Cross Cemetery is also the final resting place of Corpus Christi's first casualty from World War II, Warren Joseph Sherrill, a sailor aboard the USS Arizona who was killed during the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941. Immediately to the south of Holy Cross, there's another historic Corpus Christi cemetery. Rose Hill was established in 1914 by the former U.S. ambassador to Russia, Clifton R. Breckinridge. He led an investment group that developed the 40-acre cemetery. One of the most prominent landscape engineers in the country was hired to help design its grounds. A fund was set aside for the perpetual care of the cemetery, and more than 100 years after it was opened, Rose Hill remains one of the most beautiful and well-maintained cemeteries in the city. Take a walk through the grounds and you'll find history at every turn. At Rose Hill, you'll find the resting place of Dr. Arthur Spahn, former Corpus Christi mayors Dan Reed, Roy Miller, Perry Doddridge, and Edwin Flato. You'll also find the city's most famous Native American chief, William Red Fox, who witnessed the Battle of Little Bighorn in 1876. He was known for visiting local elementary schools in the 60s and sharing his story with the students. The family plots include the Bluntzers, Bordens, Farenthold, and Mussets. On one side, you'll find an 8-ton granite boulder marking a mass grave of unidentified victims of the 1919 hurricane. Now, both of these cemeteries serve as monuments to those who came before us, those who helped make Corpus Christi into what it is today. And of course, you may not recognize or be familiar with some of the names from the past, but they're all part of building the foundation of the city that we know today. If you'd like to learn more about Holy Cross Cemetery and Rose Hill Cemetery, all you have to do is click on the QR code you see on your screen, or you can go to our website, christv.com, click on the Coastal Bend History icon to see all of our stories, not only about the cemeteries, but about the history of Corpus Christi. Until next time, I'm Andy Lascano.